let's go to the main event of the week last weekend, which I think is fair to say we're all looking forward to, which is the Benavidez versus Anthony Yarde fight. Before we get into Anthony Yarde's performance, or lack of it, let's dissect David Benavidez.
Listen, it was a great performance from Benavidez. He'd done what he had to do. He took centre of the ring. He was throwing his shots in punches in bunches and done what he had to do. He slowly, systematically broke Anthony Yarde down. You know, I think it was a first-class performance. He was looking for his first stoppage as a light heavyweight, and he got it against Anthony Yarde. You know, I thought it was a top performance. Your weight class, Liam?
When you look at Benavidez, I mean, obviously he went in with a reputation of a super middleweight, gone up to light heavyweight. The reputation carried forward, but not the knockouts that we'd seen in the super middleweight. But we saw a performance on Saturday night that perhaps reinforces the point of view about him being the Mexican monster. How impressed were you by what you saw?
They were unbelievable. Punches in bunches like a lightweight. But I think it was competitive for 2 rounds until Yarde realised he couldn't win. And tables turned.
I mean, we saw a particular set of clips that showed Benavidez hitting Anthony Yarde unreplied, I suspect, by 18 left hands. Do you think that the referee was right jumping in when he did, Paul?
Absolutely nothing wrong with it. And I've said this on social media. Benavidez's hand is flat on the shoulder of Yarde as he's hitting him. Yarde is holding him. So he's hitting with his free hand, and Yarde is holding the hand and won't let the hand go. So he wasn't holding and hitting. The hand wasn't on the neck that way. It was there resting on its side. The referee was right on that occasion. I think he was wrong on the knockdown, hitting him with his hand, which we'll get to a little bit later on. But I think the referee was well within his rights to let it go on, and I haven't heard many people who are boxers or who know the rules technically push back against it. But a lot of people who've never been in the ring, I saw a few commentators on the Zone, this watch along group, shouting it was a terrible decision, or like the referees let him illegally hit him. It's not illegal; it's perfectly legal. It
was perfectly legal. I think the referee's job there, and where he was slow in this situation, was the referee should have, he saw that he was holding the hand. That's his job that's his cue to jump in, call break, and the referee didn't do it. So it's weak reffing.
You're
really.
right. Yeah, you're right what you're saying. But if he's jumping in, the referee, he's going to warn Yarde for holding, not him for hitting. Holding and hitting. It's Yarde that's at fault in that combination.
You got a view on that, Liam?
It just looked a bit rough.
He just basically went in there and he did his job, didn't he? I thought. But like Yarde didn't know how to angle a nosebleed as well, looking at it. Listen, I've got massive respect for Yarde. I applaud him. But it's rubbing your nose and that, and I just felt sorry for him in there.
Well, we'll get to Yarde's performance in a minute and some of the things that Tundi has said elsewhere. But I wanted to go back to you, Paul, about seeing the performance from Benavidez. Obviously, we've all got a lot of regard for Benavidez. We all think in the back of our minds that Canelo has ducked fighting Benavidez. We all think that Benavidez at super middleweight was an impressive force to be reckoned with and didn't probably get the opportunity he deserved. He certainly thinks that, and he's certainly got a lot of vitriol towards Canelo. The debate was, does he translate at light heavyweight? You had 2 points decisions that suggested that he perhaps didn't carry the power. We saw more of what we previously had seen in a different weight class. When you look at Benavidez now against Anthony Yarde, how do you see him translating if he were to fight Beterbiev or Bivol?
He's got really fast hands. He throws a lot of punches in bunches, as the saying goes, and he works at a good pace. That obviously, like Bivol, is not the right type of fighter for someone like Canelo to fight. I think he may have avoided him. He probably has avoided him. We see that, but he's probably just thinking business-wise, and that's a fight that he could probably do without. I think he bit off more than he could chew, Canelo, with Bivol. But I think Benavidez against Bivol or Beterbiev will hold his own and won't look out of place. I think the power is there. It's just it's probably taken a little while to grow into. I heard him say after the fight he's going to go up to cruiserweight to fight.
He did, yeah, but Zerda Ramirez,
So
I saw that.
I'm not too sure on that one, but listen to his career, he's in charge of it and do what he wants.
But let's say that because Zerda Ramirez seems to be playing hide and seek with himself and not fighting Jaya Pataya, which is the logical fight in the cruiserweights, rather than allowing this fella to come. Okay, there's a Mexican
no
element
one wants
to it.
Do they?
No, and that's probably the reasons why Canelo actually didn't want to fight him, because of the Mexican element side of things and being dethroned as the Mexican hero. When you look at Benavidez, let's just say, for the purpose of this conversation, he doesn't go up to cruiserweight because they can't make the Ramirez fight, despite the protestations that they can, and it lands in the space with your brother. You know, Morel, who your brother's fighting, fought Benavidez and gave him some difficulties in that fight. How do you look at the fight say that I would expect Callum to come past Morel and want him to, obviously for obvious reasons. When you look at the Benavidez performance against Anthony Yarde and you look at your brother, how did your brother beat him?
Anyone that knows Callum knows how good the counter puncher he is. He knows how good he is up close, and they know how good he is at distance as well.
Does.
A lot of fighters tend to think because he's 6'3.5", nearly 6'4", just get close, get your head on the chest, and you're safe, and that's where he wants you, and that's what makes him good. Obviously, I was writing a few notes down on the train on the way down, watching Yarde and Benavidez because I knew we were talking about him. There's a stage in the fight in round 5 or 6. Benavidez is teeing off on Yarde, but he's teeing off for big singles, and there's not a single counter coming back from Anthony Yarde, and them type of counters, them type of single shots to throw them at Callum will be dangerous. But it's not just counter him and that's how you beat him. Obviously, Callum's got a well better jab than what Anthony Yarde was showing on Saturday night. Benavidez has a good jab, he throws with a lot of power. The same, but that it makes you open to be countered as well. But it's going to be a thinking fight, but then I think it will catch fire. I think it would catch fire. Callum and Benavidez have always been very respectful of each other as well. Yeah. They've always spoken really respectful of each other. And they've always spoken in the sense that we're probably going to fight. You know, it's destined to happen one day, and I do think it will happen one day, and it'll be a great fight. And obviously, I'm very, very biased towards him, because of favouritism towards him. But it's a great fight on paper, and I think that's the thing with Benavidez now. I think he can only either fight Bivol, Beterbiev, Callum, or maybe a cruiserweight.
Yeah. Let's turn our attention to Anthony Yarde, and let's turn our attention to some of the things that Tundi was saying. I've seen an interview, heard an interview where Tundi talked to Steve Bunce on the BBC, where he talked about coming on strong in the second half of the fight, which I have to be honest with you, I find vexing, because I would have thought, and I'm going to bow to the greater knowledge, as always, that the object of the aim was to start fast, put a dent in Benavidez, give him something to think about. And it seemed to be the polar opposite. It seemed to be counter what Benavidez was doing by stopping him, by every now and again throwing him back to stop him throwing punches and bunches. But Anthony never did anything in this fight.
No, it was ludicrous, you know, to say that you're going to come on in the second half of the fight, because anybody that knows Benavidez is that guy, you know, that technically he's very good. He has a high output. And that's what, you know, that's
one, the polar opposite of what Anthony does.
That's one of his big assets. But Anthony Yarde, he likes to counter punch. He was counter punching with single shots, spending way too much time on the ropes. You can't do that with a fighter like Benavidez, who's he's not one dimensional. He throws shots from good angles. He whips in the uppercuts, and that's what he done with Yarde. Like, after 4 or 5 rounds, Yarde had a great 6th round, by the way, but he thrown everything in there then, and in the 7th round, obviously Benavidez turned it around again. It was like Yarde's last throw of the dice.
He had a great 6th round. But the last minute of the round,
yeah, absolutely.
Is up to it.
That's absolutely.
Spence, the 7th round, though, you watch it back, you listen yourself, you can hear the effort that Yarde's put into the shots. It's okay saying come on strong in the second half of the fight. Based on what? What have we ever seen in the past? His track record is doing 5 or 6 rounds, then gassing and having not left, and that was the same again. So
that's why I'm saying it's strange to have that.
So what's the thinking here?
He's lost against Kovalev, and he's lost against Beterbiev. You go, that's when he seemed to have blown the gasket, like putting everything into the first half of that fight. So it was like the tactics were very, very strange, because Benavidez is known.
You said about him being on the ropes a lot. He was on the ropes a lot. I totally agree. I don't think it was by choice. I think he was getting forced back there. So therefore,
I mean, the commentary, and I was listening to the commentary.
Doesn't make sense.
I mean, obviously, there was a thought process that Anthony Yarde was boxing a clever fight, getting himself into the fight. He was competitive in each round. He wasn't getting done in each round, but he wasn't winning the rounds. When you looked at the fight, Liam, were you curious to see what Anthony... I mean, you've got to have a view of Anthony Yarde. We've all got a view, which is Anthony Yarde can bang with the best of them and goes out fast and hard. And watching him fight the way he did on Saturday night, were you surprised to see what you were seeing?
I thought it was going to be a dogfight.
So did I.
I thought it's going to be a brilliant fight. Mexican monster versus Yarde. Yarde can punch. And he come out tip-tappy tactics, moving his feet. It was like he knew he couldn't go distance, so he was saving all the energy up for the later rounds.
But do you know,
I didn't see no effort. Like, I didn't see no...
Would you fancy Yarde after watching him in that fight?
I know it's disrespectful, but I fancy my chances, do you know what I mean?
But do you know the tactics that Anthony Yarde had against Artur Beterbiev were the tactics he should have applied there, where he went out and he let the shots go.
There's an old saying, Spencer, if you want to win a fight late and you want to come on strong late in a fight, you have to make him work early. You've got to make him work early. If that was making Benavidez work early, then by round 7, with all due respect, he was absolutely done and blowing and gone.
But what is the thinking? I mean, even the music when he came out to the soundtrack from Legend, where, you know, I'm coming here for a shootout. Yeah. That's the Tom Hardy film, you know, and that was what everyone was expecting. They were expecting 2 guys to meet in the middle of the ring and have a shootout in terms of it. He did the polar opposite. I mean, is this? I mean, Tundi said something to him in the 5th round. I know we can't get into the minds of what was being said, but we can get some sort of conclusion from people that know what they're talking about. You know, he's asked Anthony, "You know what you're doing, right? You got this, right?"
Yeah.
And Anthony's going, "Yeah, I've got this." What did that mean?
For me, he got bullied, and if you're going to come on strong and win a fight in the latter half of the fight, in the second half of the fight, so from round 7 to 12. You've got to win a couple of them first rounds anyway,
absolutely.
But you've definitely got to make them work. And he made Benavidez work because Benavidez was allowed to tee off sometimes on the ropes when he's standing with his back on the ropes, and it was not comfortable for Benavidez because he worked hard for it, but he made it look a bit more comfortable than it actually was. Now, I think what the 6th round was, to me, it looked like a last hurrah. And you see that in fighters, and they come out and think, I'm going here, so I'm going to make sure I just give it. And it looked to me like a last hurrah in the round 6. In round 7, he was done. I thought the corner should have stopped him. I thought the cut work on the nose was... I said this time and again, it's difficult to say without sounding too disrespectful. Anthony Yarde has been let down by the team around him throughout his career, and he could have done better and he deserved a bit better. And I think he's going to look back...
What do you mean by that?
The corner work on the cut. Right. He's got his nose is pouring with blood. Bad. It was a bad bleed on it. You've had them yourself. You know what they're like. Every time my nose used to go, I bleed through my nose. So when my nose go, I was knackered. But my nose would go, and straight away you get an adrenaline swab shoved up it. There wasn't one single swab put up his nose in the corner, and Tunde's just wiping his face. Let the cutman do the job. Let the cutman get the nose and stem the blood flow from the nose so you can stand up. At least it's not pouring. He stands up at the start of the round and he's wiping the blood, what's pouring.
No adrenaline.
No adrenaline put up his nose, nothing. That's the first bit. Secondly, the tactics, I just don't agree with the tactics at all.
We've also got to address, you know, what was being said in that round before they went out in the 7th.
That's what I mean.
You know, he'd had a bad last minute of that 6th round, and you're going, right, now the instructions have got to be, you got to pick this kid up now. You got to give him, you know, you're his trainer, you know exactly how he's feeling. If he needs that kick up the arse that you need to tell him. But just saying, like, you know,
don't let him throw.
There was nothing constructive around what was being said.
Don't let him throw 12 punches without answering back.
Yeah,
come on. This is a big fight on a big stage.
I'm going to let you have a swing at this. I mean, is it time? He's had 3 shots now, and each time that he's gone in, his reputation has been enhanced by being a gallant loser. You know, against Kovalev, he went in, he could have won that fight. People put it down to naivety. Against Beterbiev, he was commendable for 6 rounds because Beterbiev is a monster, and he lost and got more credibility out of it. In this fight, I don't think he comes out with a lot of credibility. I think people are surprised by how passive Anthony Yarde appeared to be in what was his probably last tilt of a world title opportunity. Is it time for him to change Tundi, do you think? Tundi's quite noisy, has a lot to say for himself, and he's very bold in what he says, and he's had a few swipes at you and your brother. Is a lot of this on Tundi in terms of where this fight went and why it went the way it did?
Honestly, it's going to be difficult to say without sounding like I'm just hating on Tundi. I said to you in the past, I'm sure I'll have a cup of tea with Tundi one day, and I'm sure deep down he's a good person, and people that I speak to tell me he is, and I know I am. Tactically, on the night, with the fight, the whole setup, the whole training regime, the whole... Anthony Yarde's being told he's doing great. He's been told he's a lion. He's been told he's a warrior. He's been told nonsense, and he's getting in there, and they're not telling him how the fight's going. Now, the fight should have got stopped, in my opinion, about 20 seconds earlier than it did by the corner. He hadn't really won a round. He hadn't really done that well. He's on the wrong end of a beating, and he looked done again. But the fact that he looked done after just 6 rounds is the same pattern that's happened in the previous fights, and that's a concern. Now, my brother Callum said this about Yarde, and it's not meant to be in a disrespectful way. You can name the people that he's lost to. Name me 3 people he's beat. That's the difficult thing. When he either boxes up there or there. Now, Lyndon Arthur's in the middle. Lyndon Arthur's a European champion and a good fighter, and he beat him and he lost to him as well. But apart from that, the gap is...
I mean, his performance against Lyndon Arthur in the second fight was impressive.
Good, very good. And he beat a good fighter in Lyndon,
Absolutely. How does he... I mean, he's now... I think he's not going to get another world title shot, Liam. I think that's done. I think he's had 3... In most things in life, you're 3 and out, right? How does he rebuild? I mean, there are other fights out there for him, potentially. Josh Boetzy, I'm sure you'd like to throw your name in the ring as well. I could mention Callum, but I think Callum's up and away. How does he rebuild himself now, or do you think he will?
You've got to make an excuse, haven't you? And you've got to somehow blame the trainer and say, look, I'm going to do it right now. I've heard of people saying, move trainers, I'm going to give that a go. I don't think it's over for him, because, like, I thought it were over for me and Mark boxing career. If I didn't get another go, I wouldn't be where I am today. So, like, nothing's over.
I just don't think he was good enough. There's no shame in that.
No.
He just weren't good enough at that
I
level.
agree. I don't think he looks old.
And
I don't
that's
think he
it.
looks
It's just weren't good enough.
Can he go up to cruiserweight and nick something up there?
No, I
No,
think
it's too
I think the
small.
fight is the fight that should have happened maybe 5 or 6 years ago with Joshua Boyce, and that's still.
But that's a money fight, isn't it? That's not. A
Yeah, no,
fight,
but
is
what
it?
I'm saying is you're asking where he goes next. If you're going to go right, if you're looking at, let's see what we got left in the tank, let's have a rebuild. You go, Joshua Boyce is, you know, that they're at that sort of level where the winner can kick on, and you go at this stage of the career, and I think that's the ideal, the logical fight to make.
Yeah.
I said years ago, Simon, I said years ago, it's all on record, Anthony Yarde needs to get away from Tundi and the team and the setup there as quick as he can, because he's the best in that gym. He's the best around there. Now, you want to be a champion, you want to be a world champion, go and train with people who've won world titles or work with people who are on that level. And if you're the best in the gym, change gyms. I've always said this, if you're the smartest in the room, change rooms. And you know that more than anyone.
Absolutely.
I said this years ago now, if he does finally decide, he should have done it years ago, but if he does finally decide to go and do it and make the change, he was number 4 in the Ring Magazine rankings going into that fight. He's certainly not like right down at the bottom of the pecking order. He is probably just one win away from being back in the mix, so to speak.